Hello, and welcome to a bonus discussion relating to signing up for a GitHub account. What we'll be talking about today is how you create a GitHub account, and this is likely old news for many of you, but for those of you who don't have a GitHub account, we'll talk you through that process. And then you'll create a repository as part of what we do during this exercise. And then lastly, you'll want to share that repository with your instructor. And you'll likely want to do that multiple times throughout the course, depending upon which repository you're using, which environment. So we'll start off by taking you to the home page. So go into the GitHub homepage, github.com, and you're presented with a relatively minimalist sort of page. There's a fair amount of stuff on here. If you scroll down, you'll see some code examples and so on. But up at the top above the fold, they have a place here for you to enter in an email address. And in this case, I'm doing a variation of my work email address at U Cumberland's. There's a period in it normally. We'll see if this works. Most of the time, periods can be stripped out of email addresses. So it takes a look and sees, is that email address taken? And if not, you're able to continue. And taking a look here, that's basically what we're going through with our slides. So it's saying, let's begin the adventure. What's your email address? You click on continue because it's presenting you with the same thing. You're then offered an opportunity to create a password. Uh, anything that passes the restrictions is okay, and it tells you if they are good enough or not. You can look at the password if you're so inclined. You're given a chance to do it again to verify that is the same. Or, I'm sorry, no, you're not. You're given an opportunity to select a username. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and do Alan Dennis U Cumberland's, which is kind of long, but it'll work. Go ahead and click continue. Unlikely anybody has that username, which is what it's likely doing right now and checking. So it is available. So we can click continue. Took a little while there to check, which is a little unusual. Usually this stuff is really quick. Go ahead and click. Next, you're given the opportunity to receive some marketing paraphernalia if you're so inclined. So occasional product updates and announcements, not a horrible thing to get. And then you're asked to find a way to verify that you're a real person. So it's going to present you with a puzzle that you have to solve. And so in this case, we need to line up things so they're pointing the same direction. And of course, I'll take the long way around to get there. And it basically verifies that I am not a robot. So we can now create the account. And at this point, switch back here. We've already identified the username and so on. Then you're likely going to be presented with the option to, and it's running very slow, specify how big your team size is. Part of the benefit of things like GitHub is that they are intended to be done in a collaborative environment, meaning that you work with others collectively. That's kind of the whole point of repositories. So while you can certainly use it by yourself, and that's what the first choice is just me, most of the time you'll be working with someone else. So in this case, I selected 2 to 5. Switch back here, it sent me an email address, and this is where we find out if they can handle periods or not. So one moment. All right, sorry for a little bit of a hiccup here. I'm sure you won't notice, but what I ended up having to do was add a different email address, send a verification to it, and now we'll do the verification of the code. Slightly different flow. So here's it's a little bit of a different one. So 570555260. Each time your code will be different, and so you can see we now have light speed or whatever. So we kicked off, and we've now signed in to GitHub. Again, I had to slightly switch the email address. Same username, just a different email address to verify. So back to our presentation. This case, it doesn't seem that it really asked me the size of my team, but it does ask if I want to create a new repository. So let's go ahead and step through. And whenever you're creating a new repository, one thing that's important, especially in a university setting, is to make sure that you're creating it as a private repository because we don't want someone to take your work and submit it as their own. And doing so is obviously them benefiting from your efforts. So you want to probably not want to do that. So in this case, I'm going to go and switch into this website, and we have a place here right at the top that says start writing code in a repository name. You just need to give it a name. So in this case, I'll just say GitHub demo, and it's available because it's within the scope of my account. And then at this point, you're able to create that repository, and you have several choices for seeding it. That's a bit beyond what I want to accomplish with this conversation, but there are various ways. You can certainly use various clients such as GitHub Desktop, Visual Studio Code, or you can do stuff this way through the command line git agent or the client. You will need to install that most likely if you haven't used GitHub before. But once you've created that repo, you can then choose to share it with others. So we've created it, and now the next step, once you've actually put some files in it, which is what's going on here, a thing that you would likely want to do is go and up to the repository, go to I always have to look this up, the settings on the collaborators side. And bear with me. It's been a moment. The joys of demos. So the collaborators is here on the, the main page whenever you're creating the repo. After the fact, it may move around, but right now that's where it was at. So you can add collaborators, and this is people who will have access to the repository. Uh, Generally, you need to know their name or at least know how to search for them. You might be able to go and look for them by their email address, and that is one way that you can do them. You may also need to ask them. So whenever your instructor in this course should tell you what a user ID they would like you to share your code with. Once you've identified it, you need to then decide uh, kind of how you're inviting them to collaborate. In this case, we'll go through that one more time. You can specify the type, and so in this case, we haven't really, it hasn't been accepted yet, but it's figuring out the type of access that user is going to have. But with that, you've basically created a repository and shared it with a collaborator. And I heard the email address or the email chime over in a different window. So the user that receives it will receive an email similar to this. You can go ahead and download the picture so that you can actually see what it's supposed to look like. It will ask the recipient of the share what it is, if they want to accept it or not. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and click on accept. And so now you, as the owner essentially of this repository, can, and I'll refresh the screen so it shifts from pending to should switch over to accepted here in a moment. Um, but anyway, you can then control what sort of behavior you want that particular user to have. But with that, we will go ahead and wrap this up. We've talked a bit about how to share a repository, or how to create a GitHub account, how to create a repository, and how to share that repository with your instructor. As always, if you have any questions, do feel free to reach out. Here are some handy resources which you may want to take a look at. They're also in the detailed instructions for the first assignment. As always, if you have questions, do let me know. Send me an email, message, whatever. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.